Rain slashed sideways across the empty highway, windshield wipers fighting a losing battle. Elara killed the engine of her rust-flake sedan at exactly 2:57 a.m., headlights carving tunnels through the storm, before dying. Blackwood Mansion rose ahead, black stone, jagged gables, every window boarded except one high in the eastern turret, where a single candle burned steadily. Impossible against all logic and every ghost story the town had whispered for 30 years. She clutched the newspaper ad, ink bleeding in the downpour. Night nurse needed, Blackwood Mansion, 3 a.m. to dawn. Cash paid nightly. Enter alone. No phone, no name, just the address and a tiny black diamond drawn beneath the text. The gates, 12 feet of wrought iron and thorns, stood closed. Elara stepped out, boots sinking in mud, and the gates groaned open on their own, chains rattling like laughter. She drove through. They slammed shut behind her with a clang that echoed inside her ribs. The drive twisted uphill through oaks dripping silver, lightning flashing white against the mansion as silhouette. She parked beneath the porte cochere, killed the lights, and the front door yawned wide before she touched the bell. Candlelight spilled out, warm and impossible. Inside smelled of cedar, old books, and something electric like the air right before thunder. The foyer stretched cathedral high, chandelier wrapped in cobwebs, grandfather clock frozen at 3:33. A silver tray waited on a marble console. One black envelope, seal pressed with a tiny diamond, her name inked in silver. She broke it open. Inside, a single gold coin heavy as gilt, a brass key on black ribbon, and a card in handwriting sharp as broken glass. Third floor, east turret. Lock the door behind you. Payment under the pillow at dawn. Do not open the west wing. She climbed the grand staircase, boots echoing, portraits glaring down men in black, women in mourning lace, every face scratched out except the eyes. The east turret door stood ajar, candlelight flickering within. She stepped inside. The door shut soft and locked itself. The room was round, walls lined with books, a narrow bed made up in black velvet, fireplace crackling though no wood burned. A second envelope lay on the pillow, same silver ink. He is waiting. Bring the coin. Speak only when spoken to. At exactly 3:33 a.m., every light in the mansion flared to life. No switches flipped. No generator roar, just sudden golden brilliance pouring from chandeliers, sconces. Even the candle in the turret window now blazing like a star. Elara's breath caught. Down the corridor came the slow scrape of something heavy being dragged across wood. She pressed her ear to the door, breathing wet, labored, human. A shadow passed beneath the frame, tall despite the hunch. A final note slid under the door. Paper warm. Come. She followed the hallway lit like daylight, gold coin clenched in her fist, brass key ribbon around her neck. The master bedroom door stood open. Inside, a four-poster bed swallowed by shadows, machines hissing soft, and a man propped on pillows 89 maybe, skin translucent, eyes milky blind, yet fixed exactly on her. Tubes ran from his arms to bags of clear fluid, an oxygen mask fogged with every breath. He lifted one trembling hand, removed the mask, and whispered a single word that cut through the storm. Elara. Then he smiled, teeth perfect, voice like dry leaves over gravel. You're late. The lights were waiting. He pressed the mask back, eyes never leaving her face, and pointed to a chair carved with tiny black diamonds. She sat. The mansion lights dimmed to a soft glow, as though satisfied. He slid a leather pouch across the blanket, clinking heavy with more gold coins, and closed her fingers over it. Stay until dawn. Every night. The house chose you. Thunder rolled outside, closer now. Elara looked at the blind man who saw her perfectly, at the candle still burning impossible in the turret window, at the gold warm in her palm, and felt the first spark of something ancient and alive settle under her skin. The clock downstairs remained frozen at 3:33, but every other light in Blackwood Mansion burned for her now. The storm raged on, and the night had only just begun. The mansion light settled into a warm amber glow, as if the house itself exhaled. Elara sat rigid in the diamond-carved chair, gold pouch heavy in her lap, while Caspian Blackwood breathed slow beneath the oxygen mask. His blind eyes tracked her anyway, unerring, like moonlight on water. After a long silence, he lifted one finger, pointed to a silver tray that had appeared on the bedside table, hot tea, 2 shortbread biscuits shaped like tiny black diamonds, a single black rose in a crystal bud vase. A fresh note lay beside the cup, silver ink still wet. Eat. The house insists. She obeyed. The tea tasted of bergamot and smoke. The biscuits melted on her tongue. Caspian watched her chew, then slid another note across the blanket. Read to me. Top drawer. She opened the nightstand drawer inside, a worn copy of Poe, pages soft as cloth, bookmarked at the fall of the House of Usher. She read until her voice grew hoarse, the oxygen hissing in rhythm with the words. At the final line, he lifted the mask again and whispered, "Again." She read it 3 times before dawn, every night repeated like a ritual. She arrived at 3 a.m., the gates opened, the lights blazed at 3:33, the tray appeared with tea and something sweet. Caspian never slept. He listened Poe, then Dickens, then old shipping logs from the 1920s, his blind eyes fixed on her face, as if he could see every pore. Payment grew heavier. Another pouch of gold coins every dawn, sometimes a black pearl, once a tiny music box that played a lullaby her mother used to hum. Notes multiplied. Play the piano in the west parlor at 4:44. Do not open the basement. She played. The keys moved under her fingers as though guided by invisible hands. The melody echoed through corridors she hadn't explored. And somewhere far below, something answered with a low electric hum. On the 7th night, the gifts turned personal. She found her childhood teddy missing an eye, one ear chewed by a long-dead dog sitting on her turret pillow, stitched perfect, wearing a tiny black diamond collar, a note pinned to its paw. The house remembers what was lost. She cried into its worn fur until the fabric soaked through. The next night, her grandmother S. locket sold years ago for rent lay open on the tray. Photograph inside restored, chain repaired with black gold. She wore it every shift after. Caspian began speaking more, voice a rasp barely louder than the oxygen. The lights come because someone finally stayed, he whispered one dawn, as the chandeliers dimmed to candle glow. 30 years of nurses ran screaming by the 3rd night. You stayed. He pressed a small velvet box into her palm inside, a black diamond key no longer than her thumb, edges sharp enough to cut. 3rd riddle. What is black as night, hard as regret, opens what was never locked, and fits only the hand that isn't afraid? He closed her fingers over it and fell silent, mask fogging slower. The mansion grew bolder. Doors opened before she touched them. Footsteps echoed in empty halls, always stopping when she turned. At 3:33, the lights no longer just brightened, they danced. Chandeliers swaying in perfect circles, bulbs flickering Morse code she hadn't yet learned to read. Once, the grand piano in the ballroom played itself while she watched from the doorway, her mother-esque lullaby, note perfect, keys depressing under invisible fingers. When it ended, a single black petal drifted from the soundboard and landed at her feet. On the 14th night, Caspian S. breathing grew wet. He removed the mask entirely, skin paper thin, and wrote with trembling speed, "Vault beneath the east garden. Black diamond turns the lock. Bring the sphere when I'm gone. Promise," she promised, throat thick. He smiled small, fierce, and pressed the black diamond key into her palm a second time, closing her fingers until the edges drew blood. The mansion lights flared white-hot at 3:33, brighter than daylight, then settled into the softest glow yet, as though the house itself was holding its breath. Dawn came gray and quiet. Elara found the usual pouch heavier than ever, 20 gold coins, and a single black diamond the size of a robin-S egg. The turret candle still burned, steady against the coming storm. She slipped the black diamond key onto the same ribbon as the brass one, both now warm against her heart, and waited for the next midnight. The mansion hummed low and constant beneath her feet, lights waiting, ghosts patient, the man who never slept finally drifting toward the edge of forever. Dawn bled into the 15th night without mercy. Elara arrived soaked from the storm, boots leaving wet prints on the marble, the black diamond key now cutting a permanent line across her palm. The gates opened faster, as if eager. At 3:33, the lights did not merely flare. They exploded into a silent aurora, greens and violets rippling across ceilings, chandeliers spinning like slow galaxies. Caspian lay smaller in the bed, skin almost translucent, oxygen hissing weaker. He lifted the mask only long enough to whisper, "Garden, tonight. Bring the key and the girl who isn't afraid." She wheeled him herself for the first time, down corridors that rearranged themselves walls, sliding aside to reveal a glass door she had never seen. Outside, the storm had paused. Moonlight poured silver over the east garden, roses black as ink, petals dripping. In the center stood a marble plinth, no higher than her waist, a single keyhole carved in the shape of a perfect black diamond. She knelt, rain starting again, and pressed the tiny key home. The plinth sank into the earth with a sigh. A spiral staircase of black stone appeared, lit from below by that same captured starlight glow. Caspian-S hand found hers, cold but steady. "Down," he rasped. She carried him bones light as a child-S down the stairs that descended far deeper than the mansion-S foundation should allow. The air grew warm, electric, humming against her skin. At the bottom stretched a cavernous vault walls lined with paintings no museum had ever catalogued, shelves of patents stamped rejected, crates of gold bars stacked like books. In the center hovered a sphere the size of a grand piano, suspended in copper coils, glowing soft white blue, turning slow without touching anything. Light poured from it in gentle waves, powering every bulb in the mansion above, though no wires ran. Caspian smiled at the sphere like it was an old lover. The Aurora core, clean, endless. They laughed me out of every boardroom in 1962. Said it broke physics. He coughed blood into a silk handkerchief. "Buried it here. Let them call me mad." He pointed to a pedestal beneath the sphere, another black diamond lock. "Your hand only. Promise." She turned the key. The sphere pulsed once, bright enough to cast their shadows huge against the vault walls. A panel slid open, revealing rows of black diamonds, hundreds, each the size of the one around her neck, glinting like frozen stars. A reel-to-reel recorder waited beside them, tape labeled in his younger hand. For the girl who stays when the lights come back. She pressed play. Caspian-S voice strong, furious. 30 years younger detailed the theft. Partners who drugged him, forged insanity papers, sold partial patents to oil giants, buried the rest. Dates, names, bank accounts, recorded board meetings where they laughed about the crazy billionaire who thought he could power the world for free. Upstairs, the mansion answered pianos playing themselves in every room, chandeliers, spinning faster, the turret candle flaring tall as a torch. The ghost paid rent in music and light. Elara stood beneath the sphere until dawn, tears cutting clean tracks through dust on her cheeks, Caspian-S head heavy on her shoulder. When the first gray light touched the vault, the sphere dimmed to a heartbeat glow, and the staircase sealed behind them as if it had never been. Back in the master bedroom, she laid him down. His breathing had slowed to almost nothing. He removed the mask one last time, blind eyes fixed on her face. "Will reading tomorrow. My nephew comes with guns and lawyers. He thinks the house is his. Use the sphere. Light the city. Let them see." He pressed the largest black diamond yet into her palm, warm, alive, pulsing faint. "You're the legend now." She kissed his forehead, tasting salt and storm. The mansion lights dimmed to candle glow in respect. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the aurora core far below pulsed once, strong and clear, and every bulb in the mansion blazed white for 10 full seconds, a farewell salute. Caspian smiled, whispered her name, and slipped away. The oxygen hissed once into silence. The house held its breath with her. Elara closed his eyes, placed the black diamond in his hand, and draped the blanket to his chin. She walked the corridors now lit only by the sphere's distant heartbeat, ghosts walking beside her footsteps soft, doors opening in welcome. She returned to the turret room, laid the recorder and the largest diamond on the velvet bed, and waited for the nephew and the sunrise. The storm returned harder, thunder rolling like applause. The mansion glowed steady beneath it, waiting for the girl who stayed when the lights came back to finally turn them on for the world. Sunrise bled crimson through the turret window, staining the velvet bedspread the color of fresh blood. Elara had not moved since Caspian's last breath. The largest black diamond rested on the pillow beside her, pulsing faint like a second heart. The mansion lights stayed dim, respectful, only the distant aurora core below glowing steady. At 7 sharp, engines growled up the drive 3 black SUVs, tires spitting gravel. Doors slammed, boots thundered across the foyer. The nephew stormed in first, Grayson Blackwood, 42, shark smile, tailored suit soaked by rain. 6 armed private security fanned behind him, rifles low but ready. A lawyer clutched a briefcase thick with forged papers. Grayson's voice echoed up the staircase, sharp as breaking glass. "The old man S. dead. House is mine by prior power of attorney. Girl gets 1 minute to pack and leave before we drag her out." Elara stood at the top landing, white nurse S coat over her jeans, black diamond key ribbon visible at her throat. She held the reel-to-reel recorder in one hand and the largest diamond in the other. Grayson laughed when he saw her. "Playing with his toys? Cute. Hand them over." She pressed play. Caspian's younger voice filled the mansion strong, furious. Recorded decades ago, naming Grayson's father as the partner who drugged him, stole the patents, paid doctors to declare him insane. Dates, dollar amounts, threats. The security men shifted, uncertain. Grayson's smile faltered. Elara lifted the black diamond high. One chance. Leave now, or watch what happens when the lights come back for good. Grayson snarled, gestured. 2 guards started up the stairs. Elara turned and ran not away, toward the east garden door that slid open on its own. Rain lashed her face as she sprinted across wet grass, boots slipping, diamond clenched in her fist. The plinth waited, keyhole gleaming. Behind her, shouts and boots pounded closer. She slammed the black diamond home. The ground trembled. Every light in the mansion exploded into white fire chandeliers, sconces, the turret candle blazing tall as a torch. The aurora core far below roared awake, copper coils singing. A low electric hum rose to a scream. Grayson reached the garden door just as a visible wave of blue-white energy surged upward through the soil, through the roots of the black roses, through the marble plinth itself. The sphere rose. It ascended through the open ceiling of the vault on a column of pure light, slow and majestic, until it hovered 20 feet above the garden, perfect radiant, turning in perfect silence. Rain turned to steam around it. Every bulb in the mansion shattered in a symphony of pops, then relit brighter than ever, fed directly by the sphere's endless heart. Grayson's men dropped their rifles, mouths open. The lawyer's briefcase fell, papers scattering like white birds. Grayson lunged for Elara. She sidestepped. He slipped on wet marble and crashed into the rose bushes, thorns tearing his perfect suit. The sphere pulsed once gentle, almost kind, and every street lamp in the city beyond the gates flared to life. Then the next block. Then the entire grid downtown towers, hospitals, suburbs, lights, blooming outward in perfect circles. No coal, no gas, no bill. Car alarms sang. Church bells rang themselves. The city that had mocked Caspian Blackwood for 30 years suddenly glowed with his stolen dream. Elara faced Grayson, rain streaming down her face, voice calm over the hum. The will is simple. Everything goes to the girl who stayed until the lights came back. That's me. She held up the recorder. Copies went to every major news outlet at 3:33 this morning. Your father-esque confession is trending worldwide. Sirens wailed in the distance, real police this time. Grayson scrambled up, thorns in his palms, screaming threats that died in his throat as the sphere pulsed again, brighter, bathing him in unforgiving light. His security melted away into the storm. Elara walked back inside. The mansion doors closed behind her soft as a sigh. She returned to Caspian-esque bedroom, laid the largest black diamond on his chest, and kissed his forehead one last time. The aurora core lowered itself through the roof like a returning moon, settling into a cradle of copper coils that had appeared overnight in the grand foyer, visible to all, hidden no longer. She opened the front doors at noon. News helicopters circled overhead. The city glowed free beneath a stormy sky. Elara stood on the steps, soaked and shining, and spoke the only words the microphones needed. The lights are back, and they are never going out again. The mansion blazed behind her, roses black and beautiful in the rain, the sphere turning slow and eternal above the chandelier it now fed forever. Grayson was led away in cuffs as the storm finally broke into sunlight. Elara closed Caspian-esque blind eyes with gentle fingers, whispered thank you into the humming air, and stepped into the legend that had chosen her the moment she walked through the gate. Sunrise painted the city gold for the first time without a single power plant burning coal. From the mansion-esque highest balcony, Elara watched the glow spread hospital lights steady, traffic signals blinking, homes warm, all fed by the aurora core hovering serene above the foyer like a second moon. News helicopters still circled, but now they carried banners that read, "Thank you, Elara." The storm had passed. Black roses in the garden glistened with rain, turned to diamonds by the sphere-esque gentle light. The will reading became a celebration. Lawyers, scientists, and mayors filled the ballroom. But the real guests were the people families who had lived under rolling blackouts, kids who had never seen their city this bright, elders who wept, remembering Caspian-esque name. Elara stood in a simple white dress, stitched from her mother-esque old curtains, black diamond key now a pendant catching every ray from the sphere. She opened the final envelope Caspian had left on the foyer cradle, silver ink glowing. To the girl who stayed, everything is yours. The mansion, the patents, the fortune, the light. Use it to keep the dark away from everyone. The house will never be haunted again. Only loved. She read it aloud. Cheers shook the chandeliers. The sphere pulsed once, warm and proud, as if applauding. Summer crowned the new world. Blackwood Mansion became the Aurora Institute East Wing labs open to every university on Earth. West Wing dorms for orphan scholars, the grand ballroom a free lecture hall where Elara taught physics under the sphere ace's endless light. Cities begged for cores. She built them in the old greenhouse, copper coils rolling off assembly lines run by the same neighbors who once called the mansion cursed. Every core carried a black rose emblem and a plaque, gift of Caspian Blackwood Elara Thorn. Light is free forever. Autumn brought the first Aurora Festival. The mansion grounds overflowed tents, food trucks, children flying kites powered by pocket-sized coils. Elara unveiled the statue in the foyer. Caspian young and laughing, eyes no longer blind, arm around a 23-year-old Elara, holding the original black diamond key high. The sphere hovered above them, bathing the bronze in living light. Fireworks made of pure aurora energy, silent, clean, endless, bloomed across the sky in shapes of roses and stars. She married that night under the sphere itself. Simple white gown, barefoot on the marble, veil woven with tiny fiber optic threads that glowed with the same light now feeding continents. The entire city dimmed its lights for 1 minute as a gift. The mansion and the sphere alone lit the world. Her husband Matteo, the quiet engineer who helped scale the first city core, vowed forever beside the cradle of copper coils. They danced while the sphere spun slow overhead, raining soft auroras across the floor like blessings. Years folded like light through prism. Elara-esque children learned to wind pocket coils before they could read, planted black roses along every new institute fence, and fell asleep under skies that never went dark. The fortune grew, but every cent built schools, hospitals, villages, powered by flowers of copper and starlight. Oil barons became relics. Textbooks called it the Blackwood Revolution. Grayson rotted in federal prison, his appeals drowned in evidence the sphere itself seemed to testify to. On the 20th anniversary, the city now the brightest on earth threw the biggest festival yet. Every street lamp, every home, every billboard glowed with the same free light. Elara, hair silver-streaked, white gown bright against the night, stood on the mansion balcony with Matteo and their grandchildren. The original sphere still hovered in the foyer below, unchanged, eternal. She raised the black diamond key one last time. "Caspian asked me to keep the dark away from everyone," she said, voice carrying over a crowd that stretched to the horizon. "Tonight, look up. There is no dark left." The sphere pulsed once gentle, loving, and every light on the planet brightened in perfect unison. Children released paper lanterns powered by tiny coils. They rose like reverse stars, joining the real ones. The mansion blazed behind her, roses black and beautiful under eternal light, the turret candle still burning steady 30 years after it should have died. Elara slipped her hand into Matteo's, kissed her granddaughter-esque curls, and whispered to the sphere only she could still hear. "We did it, old friend. The lights came back, and they were never going out again." The Aurora Core answered with a soft rainbow that painted the entire city in living color, and the girl who once walked into a haunted mansion for a night job walked out a legend who lit the world. Blackwood Mansion stood open forever. No gates, no fear, only light pouring out like a promise kept across decades, continents, and one unbreakable heart.